Good morning. Good morning, Helen. Good to see you. And Chris, welcome. I think it'll come, Helen. This is very early. Usually when I just turn on, it takes a while for everybody to arrive. Yes, I am. Thank you. Very well. Good morning, Jenny and Rose. Hope you're all well. Good to see you all. Welcome, everybody. Morning, Philippa. We live in a funny sort of world at the moment, don't we? With all these restrictions and, I don't know, difficulties. So meditation really helps, I think. I think it really helps me. Good morning, Sarah and Dimple. Oh, Dimple, take care of yourself. If you are ill, it is quite hard to meditate. So don't try too hard. Just let yourself off. If you're ill, meditation takes a lot of energy, and people don't really appreciate that, do they? People think meditation is just relaxing, which it is, but it also takes energy. So if you're ill, just take care of yourself. The meditation can wait. Morning, Isabel. Don't think I said hello to you. Yeah. So, and meditation really helps in these difficult times. I'm going to be talking about presence in a moment, and presence is something that is healing and helpful to us. I was talking about this yesterday. Okay, well, if it helps to meditate, Dimple, that's great, but take it easy. Be kind to yourself. So it's 7 o'clock. Just wait a little bit longer. Okay, so welcome everybody, and welcome to everybody who tunes in on the recording as well. It's good to see you too later in the day. So yesterday I was talking about the importance of being present, of presence, this mysterious thing that we call presence, that we could also call awareness or mindfulness. Just being here, it's a knowing awareness between thoughts, and it's the thoughts that our chattering mind that creates the trouble, that creates the problems for us, particularly with regard to how we see ourselves and how we see the world. And our mind is a product of our life so far. It's a product of all the things that have happened to us, and it's a kind of reaction, a kind of I can't think of the word, but our mind reacts to whatever happens to us, and it reacts in a way that's based on past experience. So our mind tends to be in a state of flux all the time, a state of worry and anxiety, and desperate to keep ourselves safe and to protect ourselves. So that's why we have these thoughts about not being good enough. Excuse me. These thoughts about needing to be better. It's why we get anxious. It's why we feel that we're not quite good enough sometimes. We're not quite up to the task of being us. And our mind worries about what other people think and what will happen. So all this is, I mean, it's absolute rubbish, most of it. It perhaps developed in many thousands of years ago as a protective device when the world was very dangerous. But nowadays our minds stir us up unnecessarily and cause us all sorts of pain and suffering. And we don't need that. So if we can just let go of our chattering mind as much as we can through meditating most days, then we enter a space that is free of that. And that space is called presence or awareness, just being here now. And this is a safe space where there is no mind to pull us apart and cause us anxiety and pain. But of course, this space isn't easy to access. The mind is very strong, so we have to practice quite a lot to allow the mind to settle. And we do that by not getting too bothered about what the mind says, not getting too bothered about what our thoughts are. We just notice them and know it's just the mind. It's just the mind going on again. And it's not necessarily true. In fact, usually it isn't true. So in meditation, we don't push away thoughts. We don't try and stop them. We just notice them in a kind of, oh yeah, there you go again sort of way. And that's what we do in the mindfulness of breathing yesterday. But we can also do it in this meditation where we're just taking a reflection on ourselves, taking a look at ourselves, just seeing that we don't need to believe these thoughts that we think. Okay, so I'll stop there and I will lead us through this, but I've got a poem that is about this, which I think is very helpful. It's about this, it doesn't call it presence, but it is about this presence, this space inside where it is quiet and enduring and full of compassion and love. And it's a poem by somebody called Roshani Ree, written in 1992. There is a brokenness out of which comes the unbroken, a shatteredness out of which blooms the unshatterable. There is a sorrow beyond all grief which leads to joy, and a fragility out of whose depths emerges strength. There is a vast hollow space, too vast for words, through which we pass with each loss. Out of darkness we are sanctioned into being. There is a cry deeper than all sound, whose serrated edges cut the heart as we break open, to place inside which is unbreakable and whole, while learning to sing. So I'll read that first verse again, because I think it's really important. There is a brokenness out of which comes the unbroken, a shatteredness out of which blooms the unshatterable. There is a sorrow beyond all grief which leads to joy, and a fragility out of whose depths emerges strength. So that's what we're after today. We're looking for this this inner strength, this inner being that is free of the fluff and the worry of our thoughts. And it's there in all of us. So we just need to allow it to emerge. Okay. So we could begin by just looking for this presence, this awareness. This deep space within. You may not be able to find it. You may have a mind that's chattering away. But just noticing how you are in the body. Just coming into your body. Having a sense of how your body is today. How's it feeling? Not so much what's going on in your mind. What's going on in your body? How does it feel? The body is a good gauge of how we are. Is your body relaxed? Or is it a bit tense? Is your body achy or stiff? Or relaxed and happy? There might be particular feelings, sensations in the belly and the chest of not very nice sensations. When we get emotional, particularly when we get negative emotions, the body responds with a degree of pain and discomfort. So if you find any discomfort in the body, our tendency is to turn away from it. Don't do that. Turn towards it. Turn towards any tightness or discomfort in the body. Pouring out love into the painful area. Bringing it right into your present moment. Taking care of any tension or discomfort in the body. Really pouring love upon it. The body really appreciates this. So just allowing any discomfort to be there and to be loved. Noticing the weight of your body on the bed or the floor or the chair. Just being held by the earth. Just feeling that contact. And bringing attention to the breath, coming and going, the chest rising and falling. If you notice any tension in the chest, just turning towards it with love and kindness. Just relaxing the breath, not forcing it in any way. And finding your heart center right in the middle of the chest, towards at the bottom of the rib cage, in the middle, just behind there, the heart center, the source of all our positive emotions. You might think of somebody you love. Usually when you do, if you're relaxed, somewhere in this area you will feel warmth and joy. Now just allowing that to emerge, if you can. If you can't, that's okay as well. And we're going to begin this meditation by just reflecting on our lives. It's very difficult, particularly at the moment, living our lives. Particularly when we're restricted and perhaps worried and missing lots of human contact. So can we begin with a sense of real kindness to ourselves in the present circumstances? Doing our best, making our way through this lockdown and all the difficulties. However we respond each day, we're doing our best. And that's all we can do. And just taking the whole of ourselves in as we do this, with a loving gaze. There may be parts of ourselves that we like or get along with, and other bits that we don't like about ourselves. And there may be some bits we can change, that we can work on, and other bits that we can't change. And that's hard. And in actual fact, we are perfect just the way we are. Just the way we are at this moment is how we are. So can we bring a sense of loving kindness to the whole of ourselves? Can we accept the bits that we can't change? And can we resolve to work patiently on the bits we can? Can we open our hearts to ourselves, to the way we feel? Can we step back from the critical thoughts and be with this presence? To find the still self within, between the thoughts. And can we support ourselves in this work? Can we be our own best friend? Always there, supporting ourselves. Always there with encouragement. Always there with a sense of loving kindness, no matter what happens. Can we find this good friend within us? A good friend inside that will help us through our day. Take care of us. Love and nourish us. And now making contact with the vulnerable side of ourselves. This part of us that is sometimes a bit scared, sometimes worried and anxious. This part of us that may not feel quite good enough at times. This part of us is like a small child within us. Small child that worries and frets and gets scared. So can we find this small child? Can we look after it? Might even imagine what he or she feels like and looks like. Can we hold their hand, encourage them, support them, reassure them, and love them, this small child within? As we go through the day, can we take care of our small child within? So keeping hold of the small child's hand, continuing to take care of him or her, and going in search of our inner critic, this part of us that constantly tells us that we should have done better, that we ought to be this, or we ought to be that, or we should have done this, or should have done that, or telling us off for the way we acted. So this inner critic seems harsh at times, and we may tend to push our inner critic away and not want to acknowledge it. But actually, our inner critic is a bit like the small child, desperately worried about us. Our inner critic wants us to be safe, wants us to act in ways that are perfectly okay and don't create any difficulties. And so our inner critic means well. Our inner critic has our best interests at heart, but is completely deluded and gets too intense about everything. So can we love our inner critic as well? Can we shower our inner critic with loving kindness? We don't have to believe what our inner critic tells us, but we can reassure and soothe our critic. We can help it to calm down. Let it know that everything is okay. So finally coming back to the whole of ourselves, this complex human being that we call us, that we call me, this complex human being living in a complex world and doing our very best to live our lives, never not doing our best. And inevitably things go wrong, inevitably difficulties arise, and that's okay. So can we support ourselves through this life, through this day? Can we be our own best friend, always there with a sense of loving kindness for ourselves? And can we be a grown-up to our inner child, looking after our fears and worries, reassuring this small child within, giving it love and encouragement? And can we recognize our inner critic as another part of us that needs love and kindness? Another part of us that worries about us fitting in, being good enough? Can we learn to reassure our inner critic with a sense of loving kindness? So as we go through this day, just taking care of ourselves, not expecting too much from ourselves, being our own best friend, looking after our inner child and our inner critic. And it might help to know that, to remember that everybody else around us is pretty much the same as we are. They too need loving kindness. They too have worries and often may not feel quite up to this task of being human. So as well as loving ourselves, can we love others? Can we look after those around us who are suffering in much the same way as we are? Who are filled with joy at times in much the same way as we are? Can we open our hearts to all those others that we come into contact with today? Welcome to Paul and Marianne and Joanne and Vinesh, who joined us later on after I started. So I hope that was helpful. We really do need to just really have a sense of loving kindness towards ourselves. It's not always easy, is it? But if you find that there's a bit of yourself being critical and unpleasant or reacting in some way to other people, just try and remember to bring a sense of loving kindness to that part of yourself. Because if nothing else, it hurts. It's painful when we get upset. It's painful when we react, not just for the other person, but for ourselves as well. So as you go through the day, maybe try and remember from time to time just to turn inwards with loving kindness and just take care of our precious selves. Because if we take care of our own selves, then we're going to be able to take care of others. But we need to look after ourselves as well. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. It's a real pleasure to meditate with you in the morning. And I'll be back tomorrow with a giving and receiving meditation where we receive love and we give it. We give it out again. It's a really beautiful meditation. So have a really nice day. Stay safe, and I'll see you again soon. Lots